is happening ground level, street level.
I'm almost
Do you live in the city?
In Brooklyn.
Okay.
I used to live in East Village back in the day. But
Gotcha. Do you have kids?
yes. I
Nice.
was watching your, I don't know whether it was your last transmission like yesterday or whatever.
Bitching about the kids?
Yeah, and I was just like guffawing to myself.
How old is your child?
She's 3.
Oh, so is mine.
So yeah, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yep.
Ah.
All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, she's really starting to like have a mind of her own, and she's the 3-nagers, we call it. And we also have a 20-month-old, and so she is a little bit of a terror to the 20-month-old. She can be.
Is it 20-month a boy or a girl?
Little girl. We have 2 little girls. The little one is Quinn, and the older one is Harper.
That's nice name.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's I read this, or someone sent me this article called my child turned 3 and turned into an arsehole, and I said yes.
Yes.
Because everyone bitches about the 2, so I was like, she's an angel at 2.
She was an
so
angel at
easy.
2, yes.
And then she turned 3 and was like, almost like she like looked up the next chapter of her life. I was like, oh cool,
okay.
I get to be a complete bitch.
Yes, and that's exactly
Miraculously, we are live on all cameras.
We
right
should introduce our children to each other.
Yeah.
What is yours name?
Lulu.
Okay.
It's Louisiana.
Oh, that's
But we
beautiful.
call her Lulu.
I love that. My 3-year-old will be confused because there are 3 dogs in this building, all named Lulu.
Oh, really?
And a parrot named Louie. So,
Oh, the parrot messed me up that one day. I was downstairs,
yeah.
and I see the parrot just like flying around.
You must have freaked out.
And I freaked out. I was
Yeah.
like, this parrot
Yeah.
is talking to me.
Yeah, he is. If you say hello, he'll say hello back.
Like he had started the
But
conversation.
He was flying. You don't
He
often see
started the
parrots, like,
conversation.
actually flying around.
I was like,
the gentleman underneath us, he has this big, beautiful, amazing parrot, and he talks. So he freaked out Lance, which I would have paid money to see. That would have been good.
You can train him to say something.
I know. I should train to be like, Squeeze is a real band. Squeeze is a real band.
wait until you become a Squeeze groupie.
All right. That will be. I will bring Squeeze on the show if you can get one of the following 5 artists on the show.
Yes, we are on a roof.
Someone asked if we're on the roof. Yeah. You can help me out. I would say.
Yeah,
I mean,
not squinting like this for real life.
I know, right? Let's say Barry Manilow. I would take. He'll never come on. Anyone in any genre who can either sing or who knows Simon and Garfunkel. Cher would be a fun guest. Right. Come on, Cher would be a fun guest, Lance. Don't you think?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go with this so far. Squeeze. At least the level of Barry Manilow.
I would love Squeeze and Barry Manilow to
And I
headline
happen to
2
love Barry
venues.
Manilow.
To headline 2 venues and see which one gets more people.
Barry Manilow doesn't play like.
Barry Manilow plays every
My
3 nights a week in Vegas. He commands every night in Vegas.
Oh, does he?
Yep. I know that 'cause I saw him there.
I saw him at PNC Art Center in.
PNC Art Center is 16 times the size of the Beacon.
But Squeeze isn't playing the Beacon. They're playing the big thing in New Jersey. They're playing they're playing a bigger place than PNC.
Bigger than PNC? PNC's pretty big.
Like,
anyway,
yeah, so,
regardless. Victoria Wellman is joining me now. I'm sorry you had to be involved in my first fight with Lance. Like, I don't know.
First ever.
This is our first ever.
We're fighting?
Are we not?
Maybe this is why I get divorced.
Maybe this is why you get
all the
divorced
time.
77 times a year.
I was just having a conversation.
Hey, how many times have you been divorced? Maybe
3.
not. You should be sitting here.
I know, you should be sitting here, Lance.
I think Lance is sitting in a really good place.
Victoria started the Oratory Laboratory.
The Oratory Laboratory.
The Oratory Laboratory, or in
American, it's the Oratory Laboratory.
Cracks me up. It literally cracks me up when you say that. Which is, explain to people what it is.
So the Oratory Laboratory is a company. What we do is just help people talk about their ideas. So that's not very fancy way of saying that I'm a speechwriter.
Okay.
But it was conceived after a trip with my husband. We weren't married at the time. To a wedding upstate, and we were sitting in the car on the way back down on the I-95. And God, those speeches were so awful.
Awful.
Like, why?
Right? They're awful.
They kind of ruined the wedding. Like the wedding was beautiful, beautiful wedding, and then the speeches happened, and just for an hour, everyone was just a bit
Yes.
And it brings the whole vibe down. So
100%.
My husband will do like a terrible impression of me saying this, which was that I asked him, why isn't there someone who helps people do that? And then it was like that light bulb moment, excuse the cliche, but we are both writers and we both have performance backgrounds.
Okay.
And we've written, for everyone and everything, between us, advertising, journalism, you name it, we've done experimental theatre, suddenly we're like, well, hang on, we have exactly those tools.
Right.
Maybe we should do that. And so we built this sort of hokey WordPress, because everyone was doing WordPress at that time, website. And within a few weeks, we got picked up by Urban Daddy and Cool Hunting, and the site crashed because so many people went to it.
Wow.
And it sort of just took off from there. We got loads of press, and people were like, whoa, I didn't realize this existed. And so now we have sort of two halves of the business. One half of the business helping people with weddings, mitzvahs, office parties, anniversaries. We call them the social or the personal speeches.
Yeah.
And then the other side is obviously the executive speeches, thought leadership conferences, galas,
TED Talks,
award ceremonies. I mean, people speak all the time, and the approach that we take, it doesn't limit itself to one type of speech.
Right.
Ultimately, it's always the same thing. You're trying to connect with an audience on a human, emotional level.
Yeah. And
convey a super amazing idea. And if you fail to do that, then your idea doesn't get heard.
Right.
And then then that's it. Idea over. It's really sad. So we want ideas to be shared, and that's what motivates us.
So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like a bad speech at a wedding or a family gathering or a bar mitzvah, it really could just sort of deflate the excitement in the room and brings the temperature right down. But how do you... So I'm asking because I love speeches. I love speeches, but I love giving speeches, right? And I love writing my own speeches. Yeah. And I pride myself on, if my friend Marnie Bernstein is watching, I wrote what, to this day, and I will say this, was one of the greatest wedding speeches of all time. It was like her life wrapped up in this amazing poem that had people laughing and crying, and by the end they were standing up and applauding, and I was literally line forms on the left, line forms on the left, guys. I'll be signing autographs, and
we wrote it. No,
we of course did. And I love it, and there's something to be said for commanding everyone's attention. Yeah. And when you're really when you're nailing a speech, and when you're not. It feels
really good. I always say to someone, giving a great speech for someone. Or even just to an audience is like giving someone that gift for Christmas or Hanukkah, whatever it is that they want, and that that feeling of just here's that thing you've wanted for 10 years, I'm giving it to you, and they're like because they're so excited, because people want to enjoy it, and that feeling of knowing you're delivering something good is such an awesome feeling.
And you also do you also deliver speeches as well as you write speeches?
Yeah, so the delivery is 100%, 50% of the process, but so important.
Right.
We would never give someone a piece of paper and say, here, that's it, because obviously it has to go down on the page so we can communicate about what the ideas are. Right. But it just is not a written document, and a lot of sometimes the challenge is getting people to understand when they see that first draft that what you read isn't how it sounds. If you look at a transcript of any speech, like Obama's, commemoration speech, or commencement, sorry, how it's written, the punctuation, the grammar out the window, of course, because we're talking. We're not, it shouldn't look like a chapter.
But it's a two-pronged approach, right? It's on paper and then it's in person. Yeah. And without the in person, the on paper is shit. And without the paper, the on person is shit. Exactly. And you actually really need the two to be in a great marriage. Yeah. It can't be like a so-so marriage where one person is contributing 70% and the other person 30%. They've got to both come together, right? You have to command over what is on there, but you also have to be able to deliver it and grab everybody's attention at the same time.
Absolutely. But one thing I will say though is that the success of the delivery is not just about there's a lot of coaches out there who work with people only on delivery and only on confidence in the public forum and what have you, and they'll give you exercises to envisage something positive so that you can project and stuff. We're much more interested in, well, who are you and what are you known for? Because you should be only you should give this speech for a start. So if this speech is written properly and is so specific and personal, that only you can deliver it. which is what makes a great speech, no one else should be able to give it.
Yeah.
Then your style and who you are should permeate that delivery, right?
Right.
So if you are a hyper, super shy person with a very dry sense of humor who doesn't really look up very much, like, dig into that and let's use that. Like, we're never going to pretend that you're not that person.
Love that.
We're going to build on the strength of that, and we'll reference it. So it's not something you're embarrassed about. It's something that you're using as a superpower. You know
So
what I mean?
what do? You sit down with someone and get to know them and who they are and what they're all about and what makes them tick. And I mean, you actually do like an interview with them before you would sit down and write a speech
It's like
for them.
a mini therapy session. It's awesome. You get to know someone so quickly and so intimately, and often just like these incredibly personal details.
Yeah.
About their families and like their friends and then work stuff. I mean, it's really interesting, and everyone's different. So every single speech is just like a whole new. It's like going to a different job every day, which is super cool.
What's your favorite event or gathering or whatever to cover, to write a speech for?
You know what? It completely depends. I mean, the weddings are fun because they are entirely personal. They are about people and only about people. But they're so anecdotal. I mean, it's just But
Right.
Similarly, I've been working with CEOs of brands and stuff, and their messaging is so important. And when you really like get to like their core values of their company and like their mission, if you're into what they stand for, and it's like you're kind of, it's like working on an advertising campaign that you really like believe in.
Yeah.
It's like so that is, and that the impact of your speech is going to reach like thousands if not millions of people, then that's so exciting,
right?
To like get into that. So it's all fun.
Give me an idea of some of the bigger. I mean, I would imagine was it TED Talk like one of your biggest speeches? Is that kind of the extent of, or have you gone?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a really recognizable brand, and so people know what that is. I mean, we've had such a variety, and obviously I can't talk about specific people because discretion is really important.
So you did Obama's third speech, right?
Of course, I write all Michelle's speeches.
Yeah.
Were you the one who wrote Melania's speech?
Melania's
I wrote an
speech.
article about Melania's speech.
I could have written that speech for Melania. I just took it from someone else.
Well, it was interesting though. Melania, if you want to get into that, we can talk about that. I have a point of view on that, which is that it's the reason her plagiarism didn't work was because she didn't do it right. Michelle Obama told a story about her family and about her parents, and so when she came out with the ideas of, I can't remember what it is now, but when she came to the end of that story and then said, and so I was raised with this, and this is what's important, these values are important, it made sense in context, and we believed her.
Right.
It was authentic. It was like, yes, of course.
Right.
Melania just took the end part and just used a list of adjectives to talk about her values, which we already knew what Michelle had said, and it didn't have any context whatsoever.
Wait, do you think had she put that in context, it would have worked?
I think if she had told a real story, and just tweaked those words, no one would have noticed.
Right.
And it's proven by the fact that she actually did use other words of Michelle's. There were 2 parts that she plagiarized from, and really only one got traction because the first sort of list of adjectives
didn't really make sense.
Well, it was, Michelle had kind of used it in a quite vague way too, and so it wasn't personal to her, and so no one really noticed that she'd said it, because when you get really vague with details and you stand up and you go, Maria is such a loyal, dedicated, and compassionate friend. I really love her so much. Well, everyone says that. You couldn't say Melania's plagiarizing Michelle Obama, and yet, word for word, she did.
Okay.
But no one notices because everyone does, and that's why being specific is like so important. That you shouldn't be able to, like, if you're saying someone's loyal, you have to back it up. You have to prove that.
But explain to me, how does that happen? How does it happen that on a stage as large as that one, where everyone's watching, eyeballs are completely on it, you have the audacity, if you could call it, to lift entire sections from as high profile a speech as you're ever really going to get, and then just plop it right down and assume that everything's going to be fine and no one's going to pick up on it.
I don't want to comment on the intelligence or logical conclusion that she reached that somehow allowed her to do that.
But she didn't even, it wasn't even her, right? I wouldn't imagine that she wrote that speech.
No, well, I think the story was that she had speechwriters work on the speech. They gave her a draft. She was like, this isn't right. I want to do it myself. And then I think what happened was that she did do it herself. She looked at Michelle Obama. She looked at other inspiration for her to write it herself. And then I think what happened, and obviously this is speculation, is that they had to throw someone under the bus. And so they said, oh, this girl, who isn't a speechwriter, who doesn't do anything like that for the campaign, was roped in to help, and she did a terrible job because she didn't check. And then they blamed it on this girl who was inconsequential to the campaign, and obviously then it's not Melania's fault, it's this girl's fault. But I think probably what happened was that Melania tried and wanted to do it and didn't.
Oh, what a bummer.
Yeah, actually, talking about the Trump thing, on the first debate, his microphone, supposedly he wasn't able to read the audience. Like you were saying that people feed off of the audience. Right. Didn't that affect him?
Yeah, he was complaining about the microphone. I don't know. Actually, it's funny because we were watching on an Apple TV, and throughout the entire debate, the sound went in and out on both of their things. So I didn't
hear any issue with the microphone at all.
Yeah.
Not the Hofstra thing.
I understand. Yeah. It's the first debate.
Right. It wasn't like it wasn't that.
But there wasn't an audience. They weren't allowed.
He wasn't
to say
able to hear the audience, or
but
something.
they were silent.
But there was something that he was saying that he wasn't able to read the audience, so it threw off. Like he wasn't able to.
They're not allowed to react anyway, so that's a useless excuse on his part. I wasn't allowed to. I couldn't hear the quiet audience who weren't saying anything.
I couldn't hear the still room of nobody. That was a hard time hearing. It's been such a complicated and silly campaign anyway with that kind of stuff. Anyway, do you and your husband write all the speeches? Do you have other people that write speeches? How does it work? It seems like a very lofty task.
Yeah, it's we creative direct all of that. So I write all the executive speeches at the moment, and creative direct. I've always got sort of my thumbprint on the personal speeches as well. But I have a team of really great writers. And we have great fun sort of brainstorming and coming up with structures and A to B and the ins and outs, and but it's the challenge is obviously that it's a talent-based service, so like you have to find the right writers, and it's a highly creative and collaborative process, so everyone has to sort of be up for just like to use the improv and yes-anding and like not getting like ego getting in the way, and but it's really fun. I mean,
we're talking to Victoria Wellman, who owns her and her husband own a speechwriting service, a very successful one. I would imagine that sometimes you write a great speech and you nail it. You know it's going to be a wonderful speech. Is it sort of a push and pull when someone goes, okay, thank you, I'll take my speech now, and you're like, well, okay, all right, okay, bye. I would want to hold on to everything. No, I'll give you a different one.
No, you know what's funny is that that's actually never occurred to me that I don't want to like give the speech to someone.
I'm so selfish. I'm like, don't take anything I've done. Don't talk about my work. Don't touch my work.
What is difficult is that, and what a lot of people don't understand is that we operate as ghostwriters. No one goes out and says, someone else wrote the speech, but I'm just going to deliver it. Yeah. There is no glory in this for us. The only thing we are motivated to do is make that person succeed and give them the best speech that they can possibly have.
Right.
So what's tricky is that you give someone a speech that you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And they go, cool. I just, this just doesn't sound like me, so I'm going to like just change this, and this. And you're like, well, okay. I mean, obviously there's an editing process, and we want people to feel comfortable with the material. But also we have to push back and say, that's a mistake, and here's why. And it's really difficult when people just like will not. They come to you saying, I can't do this. I need your help.
When you give it to them,
suddenly they know exactly what's happening.
I've copy edited the first 3 quarters of the speech, and here are my notes.
Yeah,
right?
And so we have really strict rules about how to give feedback back to us,
so
that we can work on the draft, on what's there, in a way that means that they get what they want, but we are also able to maintain creative control in that. Listen, our only interest is that this is amazing,
right?
And if we think if you're gonna sacrifice that because you want to put something in about that's super not funny, or that that's just like,
right?
Why would you,
Yeah.
I want to be able to say no. I think and ultimately, look, they can take it away and do whatever they want with it.
Right.
They'll never know, and whatever. I would say 95% of the time, clients are just like, they're really up for the collaboration. They take our advice. They say, yeah, I'd like to do this, and if you push back, they're like, okay, cool, I get it. I trust you. There are 5% of people who give me a migraine with that, and sometimes I've just said, I respectfully, if you can't respect this process, and if you don't trust me that I'm doing the best thing for you, and I only have your interests,
right,
then I need to step away, because I'm not sacrificing the integrity of the company and the standards to which people and we expect of ourselves and our work. To have it's just like, and I can tell there's a specific group of people.
Oh, I'm sure, and I know you're talking about them too.
Do you know?
No, I don't know, but you know in your head exactly what you're talking about.
I do.
And they're obviously driving you crazy, even in your head.
Yeah. But I think everyone.
Right.
And that's up to me to figure out.
Isn't that the hardest? Isn't that like the best part of the job though, where you need to sort of deal with the
difficulty? It's the
I would say
dealing with the difficult people is like sometimes you have a client that's like difficult to communicate with, like that. I would imagine bringing that person out is an important part.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be great. It's just not. It's very difficult because honestly, if we're gonna get into it, I would say that like sometimes recently I've thought, is this a gender thing? Is this an age thing? Like,
so it's women that are giving you the problem?
No. But like, what is this need on their side to control and not let me do my job properly?
Yeah.
That they, it's like, it sometimes feels like they think they hired like a junior assistant that they can just like boss around. It's like, no, you can't. Like, I do this better than you. Please believe me.
And I'm sure that now goes into your sort of opening speech with them. This is how I work.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yes.
We know what we're doing.
I have a whole wonderful spiel about just like what we're trying to do, because what we do, I'm really passionate about it, and I'm really trying to like change people's ideas of what a good speech is, because I think there is a misunderstanding about what makes a great speech, and I want every speech to be unique and extraordinary, and I want the audience to go, whoa, I haven't heard a speech like that before. Not just like, oh well, that's the father of the bride speech that I expected to hear. And so I do say that, and I do explain like what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it and what their role is in it and how they have to contribute, and everyone's like, yeah, cool.
Right. and then they go
5% go and change.
Now, the extent of your speeches that you're commissioned for, are they all a minimum amount of time? Are they all 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute speeches? Can you do big? Can you do small? I mean, what's a crazy small speech someone asked you to like a?
Well, we do. I mean, with the sort of the party speeches, the personal, the party, the weddings, all that stuff. We try not to talk about time because I don't think time is important. I think if you're giving the guests like a really great time, no one's going to be looking at their watch and wondering when you're finished. I mean, that's obviously the challenge. There's a difference between, say, a toast and a speech, for example.
Right.
I think we do offer that. Do you want to make a toast where you stand up and really like wrap that up in like 2 minutes?
And you'll write that?
Yeah.
2 minutes?
Yeah. But then obviously there's, the keynotes that are 40 minutes.
I don't know why. I feel like this is an Did you ever see Grease 2?
Did I?
Okay, I love Grease 2.
I used to watch it every day.
Over and over. Me too. Like Grease 2, not Grease 1.
No,
Grease 2. Yeah, you're a cool rider. Cool. Yeah, all the way. Reproduction. Anyway.
Yeah, that's the only reason I know how the whole pollen thing works.
Yes! Took the pollen from the...
Yeah.
That's how the pollen works. Anyway, I love you. Now that we got that out of the way. It reminds me of that, where they were paying him, remember? They were like giving him the money, and he was giving them the speeches, and he was writing. And then at the end of one of them, he like threw ink on it to make it look like it was from Mooch or whatever his name is, and he hands it in. Michael Carmichael. Say hello, Mr. Carmichael, or hello, Michael Carmichael. Hello, I think it's Michael Carmichael. Michael Carrington. Hello to Carrington. Hello, Michael Carrington.
How many people are watching this? I just admitted I watched Grease.
Yeah, but not only that, I loved Michelle Pfeiffer. She was the best,
she was
right? And the music was so good in Grease too.
Yeah.
And everyone that laughs at me, I'm like, you don't understand. It was like iconic for. I mean, we must be in similar ages.
Yeah.
Anyway, it reminds me a lot of when he, needed to make money to buy a shitty motorcycle so that he could impress Michelle Pfeiffer. So he wrote speeches for all the cool
That is why I'm doing this. All I want is a motorcycle.
All you want to do is buy a motorcycle. That's how I feel. Explain something. The British accent. It's fake?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
I'm actually from Hoboken.
Yeah, no, I thought so because I just feel like
a Hoboken accent.
You could just do much better business with a British accent. Yeah, people think you're smarter than you are.
That's it. Actually, I listened to This American Life yesterday about a kid who was from some town in wherever it was, Minnesota or whatever, and he pretended to be from Uganda for 7 months at school, and
really?
Everyone believed him.
Well, why not?
And then he had to be like, "Oh my God! How do I reveal that I'm totally not from Uganda?"
That's really funny.
Now this is my moment. I'm from Hoboken, yo.
That's good. That's how all you Hobokeners speak.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from London.
Where in London?
Chelsea.
Okay. My partner Stephanie lived in Notting Hill for 12 years. Anyway, I can't go back to London. I don't know what it is. We did long distance for 2.5 years, so I was there almost every month. Right. And somehow, some way, I got sick every time I went to London. Oh. Every time, full on sick. And never sick. I'm never, knock on wood, watch me get sick tomorrow.
Is it allergies?
Who are you flying? Blame it on British Airways.
I know, I should blame it. No, I mean, I got stomach bugs and viruses and I just have never gotten so sick. But I love you and your people. I ended up with one of them. They're amazing. I don't know where I was going with that. Maybe just the fact that I still love you and love you being here, even with that fake Hoboken accent.
Actually, I have a quick question. And is it considered to be plagiarizing? If you go from, if you write a speech for one bride, are you able to use the same speech and same outline for another bride? Or it's not
No.
So you have to write a completely original.
It's blasphemous.
No, but it's your work
myself,
product.
I knew which way I went.
Sorry.
No, everything. That's why their contribution, which comes in the form of sort of answers to a sort of questionnaire, we give them 20 questions and 4 more if we need them. That is what we rely on, and the interview beforehand.
So it's
we
all
are
really
only
a blank
using what
page
they told us. Yeah, nothing off the internet, nothing we've used before. Because when you have the right material, when they tell you all the stories, you have what you need.
Yeah.
And then what our role is that we are creatives and good storytellers, and we know how to put that together. But ultimately, what we're handing them over isn't something that they wouldn't have thought of themselves because of the way we've put it together. But everything came from that. We don't make anything up.
Are there ever one-liners or ways that you start speeches? I give a ton of speeches, and sometimes I'll start a speech sort of similar. There'll be an audience of 500. I'll be like, hi, my name is Jenna Wolf. What's your name? Let's go around the room. Let's start here. What's your name? That's people laugh at that. I'm not going around the room to 500 people to find out what their names are, and they all laugh. I'm like, and then I go in. Will you throw? Is there a couple one-liners? Are there jokes?
No.
Are there little anecdotes?
No, nothing. Nothing's the same. But the fact that you do that is part of your brand. So
it's my shtick.
That's your shtick, and that's important, especially when you're speaking as a brand and you have to really create.
And that was a really bad example. I do much better than that. I don't want you to go back to your husband. They'll be like, she's terrible. You have to hear this horrible joke that she starts.
We should call her one.
Right.
No, but it's important to do that. And obviously, when you're doing those big engagements regularly, there are always going to be things that you come back to because it's your story. You have to.
Yeah.
But for these individual, very personal speeches, absolutely no way.
Okay.
No. There's always.
You're offended by the thought of it. You're offended by the thought of.
If it wasn't so nice up here, I would be leaving.
Yes, you would. I'm storming out of here, but first I'm going to stay because it's really nice and the weather's lovely.
Exactly.
I thought she was going to go to the Squeeze concert on Thursday night.
No one's going to the Squeeze concert on Thursday night. Nobody is going to.
I am now going to the Squeeze concert.
Yeah, but you also went to Barbra Streisand, so let's all calm down with only.
I also went to Beyonce.
Oh, you did. Go to
you went just recently?
I went on Friday night.
I
took my 5-year-old.
Were there empty seats?
Yeah, no, there were no empty seats, except for the fact that Booba wanted to leave after about 6 or 7
Did you had to go in New Jersey? Is that?
Yeah, we had to go to New Jersey.
So was it a hassle to like get there? And I heard on the, I mean, just with the whole train stuff, was it just really difficult?
Oh no, I drove.
But even the driving, no?
Driving wasn't.
It sounded like it was going to be just. I was like, God, I didn't even know if I would go. Even if I had to.
Oh, yeah, it was a lot of. It was, I mean, just like traffic because of the holiday weekend. Yeah, it took
Crazy,
a little. It took a little bit, but we got there on time. The biggest problem actually at the concert was the dipping dots. They didn't have the vanilla dipping dots. They just had the chocolate dipping dots, and that threw my daughter off. Like, it was crazy.
So she like come home and having dipping dots away.
Yeah. She came home with all her records and her 8-tracks. She was like,
yeah, she's like, Squeeze is going to have vanilla dipping dots, Dad. Let's go there.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm sure Squeeze is going to have like.
Squeeze is actually during our next break. During our next break, I'm playing Squeeze.
No, you're not.
You bet I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, Squeeze.
I think I am.
Anyway, well, I'm fascinated by what you do because I love giving speeches, I love writing speeches, I love sitting down, knowing all the words in my head, and then the getting them onto paper, and then from paper getting bad out.
Have you ever had someone help you, or you?
Never. Not a speech. With a speech, it has to be 100% mine, 100%. But it's also the way I deliver it. So if I write something down and I send it to a friend, I'm like, take a look at this. Even the way they read it, they wouldn't fully get me because a lot of it is fragmented sentences and it's thoughts that I'll jump out on and I'll sort of go off on a tangent. But
well, you're used to speaking as well.
Right, I'm used to performing. Correct,
exactly.
and I perform them. And my hope, it's all about engagement. And I know immediately how much of the room I'm commanding immediately. And if I'm not, I will change the speech on the fly to make sure I have everyone's attention.
Right.
The minute someone stands up or is not paying attention or something, I'm offended by that, right? So I will change it on the fly, or I will look at that person and
be like, "All right, sit down."
Won't tell them to pay attention. But like I gave a speech on Sunday rather it was, and there was a gentleman, there was a wife that was sitting down. The gentleman stood up. Clearly, he was like, "I'm going to go get coffee or something."
Yeah.
And I was on something about mothers and losing like baby weight, and I stopped immediately. I'm like, but mothers aren't the only ones that have baby weight. Like that guy, how much did you have baby weight that you had to lose? And like right away, he like sat back down again, and he was like hooked. So like I'll do what I have to do. They're like little like they're your people, they're your aunts, and you're spending with your words, keeping them all together for a period of time.
Being like, we will say like a speech shouldn't be. It's not a monologue. It's a conversation, but it's just the part in the conversation where you're talking.
Love that.
Right? So you're just telling like a really good story, and everyone's just like, cool.
Yeah.
And the more interactive you can make it, the better, because you're not giving it to. I mean, there's people there.
Right.
So
no, you want people to appreciate
engage and
how much of yourself you've put into it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm fascinated by what you do. I had no idea that there was like a.
It's just us. We're competing with the only people.
You are?
Well, I'm sure we're not, but I think
you guys,
one
it's just them. They're the only few in the
the
world that does this.
No,
how do people get in touch with you if they want to commission a speech?
They can email speak@theoratorylaboratory.
Okay, that's not even. Say it in English. What?
Speak@theoratorylaboratory.com.
There you go.
Or you can.
Oratory sounds like a.
The British accent came out there.
I know. I just have to tell you.
She lost the Hoboken for a second.
You can go to the website, which is theoratorylaboratory.com. Or you can call us, and if I knew our phone number, I would gladly give you that.
Your speech writing, I'm sure, is fantastic. Your accent is ridiculously hot. It's a very attractive accent. I would definitely go with it as you're writing your speeches. I would think in the British accent as well. Go with the whole thing. Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you so much for having me.
I really appreciate it. Next time I need a speech, I'll write one and then I'll commission one. We'll just see who does it better.
I'm sure you'll do it.
No, I don't know about that. I hope you were warm enough up here.
I'm perspiring. Yeah, I'm hot.
It's hot.
I need to go
come back.
Put a singlet on.
I know. Come back here in like 2 months, and I'm hoping to be.
But I'm hoping that I'm in shade darker then.
Yeah, you don't need vitamin D for a couple of weeks now. I think you're good.
Screw the fruit.
Right?
I'm going to have some mac and cheese.
I love it. All right, we'll take a tiny break.
Picture?
You get a picture. Yeah, absolutely.
Tiny break and we'll